And so now we've come to the last of the Chainsaw Massacre films. And originally I wasn't gonna do this because I didn't care to see it. I hadn't heard too many good things about it. I was just gonna wrap it up with the last video. But I saw this today for like $5, so I said, why not? And that is 2017's Leatherface, which is a prequel to the original film. Just like the last film, Texas Chainsaw or Texas Chainsaw 3D, however you own it, is a direct, true sequel to the original, but failed epically. This is a prequel. And can they just stop with Chainsaw Massacre films? I mean, especially ones trying to be directly related to the original. This one, though, like, where this film failed epically, I would say this one did a little better. This one, I would say, was much more worthy of being related to the original than this piece of shit. However, I still don't get why this was made, because it doesn't even get decent or passable until the third act. And even then, it's just certain shots that make me kind of, I don't want to say reminiscent, but, makes me think of the original. There is nothing super original about this film at all. The whole first half of the film, well, first it opens up, it's a birthday party for this young boy named Jed. Yeah. Since this is now the true sequel to the original, Leatherface's name is now Jed, or Jedediah, which I thought it was Jeb, J-E-B, in this one. This film can be discredited for everything it's worth. There's some guy tied up. You have, around the table for the birthday, you have young Jed, a heavier set boy, early 20s guy wearing a white shirt named Drayton. He's the cook, grandpa, and then you have, the mother. They got this guy because they think he's been stealing their pigs. For a birthday present, they give Jed a chainsaw. He doesn't want to use it. Shows compassion. And then later on, opens up in 1955. There's a couple driving down a back road. I don't remember what happens. They end up outside of the truck, running away from something. She ends up in a barn, she falls through a hole in the barn. And there you have Drayton, young Jed, and the heavier set kid who clearly has mental problems. They're really pushing that. They rig this thing so they can drop a engine on her. Police are everywhere, and they have the two younger boys in cop cars. They want to arrest Drayton. The mother, named Verna, comes up, and Stephen Dorff plays Sheriff Hartman. The girl was his daughter. And pretty much, he wants to arrest Drayton for the murder because apparently there's been a lot of crime scenes and the Sawyers are always there. And he says the two younger boys are going to be taken away from you because this is wrong. Jump 10 years later. We're in a mental hospital for kids. We see an overweight teen with long hair, big fat guy, long hair, named Bud. We see a normal looking guy that talks normal, named Jackson. We get the idea that they changed their names. The head of the um, hospital is sort of like he sort of looks like Steve Railsback. But anyway, so Verna, apparently she's married to this rich lawyer, saying, there's a loophole saying I can visit my kids even though they've been taken away from me. The head of the hospital won't allow it. Now, so Jackson and Bud, we know those are the two boys from earlier. Now, Jackson is well-spoken, compassionate, looks out for his brother Bud, the big overweight guy with clear mental problems. He doesn't talk. Anyway, there's, they shock Bud because he looks out for this one nurse that Jackson likes. Anyway, there's a riot. There's this one couple named Clarice and Ike who are clearly Mickey and Mallory knockoffs. Natural born killers. Act just like Mickey and Mallory. They take Bud, Jackson, and the nurse hostage. And they're going around looking for places to hide. They end up at a diner where, Mickey and Mallory are acting obnoxious. They get guns. They shoot people. There's even some, heavy rockabilly music. Reminds me of the opening from Natural Born Killers. And since there's hostages, and Steven Dorff is a vengeful sheriff, it's Devil's Rejects. It's Natural Born Killers meets Devil's Rejects. And so that's why the whole midsection, the whole second act is unoriginal. They find this RV, this shitty rundown RV. They're gonna hide out there. There's some rotted corpse that, from suicide. Ike and Clarice are having, sex in the back, and she's like a burn victim. She's all burnt. But while he's fucking her, she's making out with the corpse, to show that they're fucked up. One thing leads to another, and basically, it's just the two brothers and the nurse. Now, I'm going to say spoilers right here because it is still somewhat a new movie. I was impressed with this. I thought this was going to be terrible. I thought this was going to be just as bad as this. This was miles better than this. This actually, by the end of it, made me feel like, okay, a worthy extension, I guess, of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. My second favorite film of all time. Now, what would have made sense is they do want you to believe that Bud, the fat brother, is Leatherface. It would have made sense. I thought he would have been a good choice. He's not. They're walking along because they're like the most wanted people. They're like the Devil's Rejects. The sheriff especially really wants them. Sorry, I'm all stuffy. I know. One guy commented on a older video saying, take a Claritin or something. Don't have any. But so she runs after the cop car, and Bud gets killed by the cop. And then Jed snaps, kills the cop. So then they're in a chase with the sheriff. Pretty much how he becomes Leatherface. The sheriff shoots, and a bullet goes through each cheeks and fucks his face up. And then, they're in a rollover. And apparently that trauma from his brother, his closest friend, being killed in front of him, his face getting shot and everything, he snaps. And, there's this whole justice thing where they have the sheriff brings Jed to the same barn where his daughter was killed. His mother, Verna, and I will say the guy that got to play Drayton and the guy that got to play the hitchhiker did fine. They looked like younger versions of him. Of course, Drayton's wearing white, Hitchhiker's wearing green. He has like the long hair. They call him Nubbins because he needs a name, but Nubbins was his name from Chainsaw 2, which apparently this cancels out, but they had to call him something. And so Verna sews his face up, puts like a thing on him. They give him a chainsaw. Kills the sheriff. Chases after the nurse. Kills her, of course, because it's a prequel. But I will say the farmhouse looked like the farmhouse. The outside looked like the outside. Even the driveway with like the fence looked like it. The rooms with the bones everywhere and like the cotton and feathers, it looked like the farmhouse. The very last scene is him sewing the sheriff and the nurse's faces to make his first mask. And we see the shot down the hallway to the door, the sliding door that has the bull skull on the wall. Yeah, that was a bit of fan service that I appreciated. Even in the very beginning during the birthday party scene, Grandpa kills the guy in the chair with a hammer. So that reminded me of the first one. Once he had the chainsaw and there was, the hitchhiker and Drayton, they were the ones that were left in the family. Grandpa was back at the house. Grandpa's alive. No Grandma, though. You don't see Grandma. Unless something happens to Verna, and then she's the one that's the corpse upstairs in the original. I read online that there was supposed to be a character named Ted Hardesty, who was supposed to be Sally and Franklin's dad. I must have missed him. Clarice was supposed to be homage to Chop Top, because now Chop Top doesn't exist. But she ended up being her own character. It was better than the sequel, Chainsaw 3D, but it reminded me too much of Natural Born Killers, Devil's Rejects. See, even this scene here, because how they get away from Mickey and Mallory is when they're sleeping in the trailer, he threatens to kill all of them. Bud hits him with something, then drags him to the stump out in the field and curb stomps him on the stump. He looks like Leatherface in that. That would have been a good casting choice. I could have lived with that. But if they were trying to go for a twist, especially if you follow the series, that the normal looking guy that can talk, that doesn't make sense for why he's Leatherface. I don't know. With his face getting fucked up and I guess being traumatized, that's why he's the way he is in the original film. I don't know. It's not a particularly good movie. Like other kills you have, like when they're in the diner, the Ike guy, the Mickey guy, he shoots someone that's below camera level, so you get a Tarantino squib. The head of the Institute, Bud, he takes his head, smashes it against a window a bunch of times. Also, like Devil's Rejects, I feel like it was trying too hard to be disturbing and scary. With, Mickey and Mallory having sex while she's, Frenching and groping the rotting corpse. I don't know. To me, this movie was only worth it. Again, it was $5, but it was really only worth it for the third act. when you see young Drayton, hitchhiker, and he becomes Leatherface, and you see the farmhouse, and oh yeah, they feed another guy to pigs, but you don't see much of it. Even though the original Chainsaw 2 has grown on me over the years, of all the ones that are directly related to the original, I would say this is the best one. This, yeah, no, terrible. The third act was the closest to the original that I've ever seen, I will say. Because the second is the first sequel is a comedy, and it's in like an amusement park. This is back at the farmhouse, and I think they did a good job at recreating some of it. Just the writing and the story and some of the choices I thought were kind of poor. But overall, it was better than what I thought it was going to be. I was impressed by it. Just for the love of the original film, just quit while you're ahead then. We have a prequel, we have a direct sequel that can go nowhere. We already have a remake, a prequel to the remake. Fucked up continuity series, just end it right here. Might as well. Re-release the original in theaters. Like I said in my last video. That's all you gotta do. But yeah, it was better than I thought it would be. Still kind of pointless, but there were plenty of nods and homages and things that were well done in the third act to make it a decent prequel to the original. So with that, that's Leatherface, and I thank you for watching.